Hello, confident people, and welcome to another episode of our Entrepreneur Series. I am your host, Dr. Jacqueline Jarl, also known as Coach JJ. In this series, I invite entrepreneurs from all walks of life to share their unique journeys. My goal is to challenge the traditional ways we think about work, money, and freedom, and to provide inspiration for you to regain your power and design a life you love. Today, we have Haamacha, who is I'm going to get this right, personal development coach. And she's also the founder of the Art of Self-Prioritization. Haamacha, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited. I'm so excited based on the conversation you and I had.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was so perfect and organic. And we met on LinkedIn and now it's just happening. And I love this energy. So yeah.
Yes, definitely. Now, Haamacha, I'm going to turn it over to you
Tell
to
me.
give our audience a little bit more of an intro on yourself and your business. So I'll throw it over to you to give us that.
So as you said, I'm a personal development coach. So that basically means I help women. That's like my passion is about working with women. I love working with women. And I started my business while having my previous business in fashion. I was in fashion for 20 years and then I pivoted to personal development coaching for that experience because I met so many women who didn't have confidence in themselves. You know, when they came into the store, they would be like in awe of what I was doing. And I was thinking to myself, like, if I can do it, why can't you? And I was so inspired by thousands of conversations that I had with women. And so when I moved from New York to Milan, I'm like, it's all about personal development. So that's what I do. I am the founder of the Art of Self-Prioritization framework. And that's basically the framework that I use in my workshop called Living in Power, where I teach women who prioritize others, accept themselves, to live in confidence, have boundaries and to feel their dreams. So many women out there are putting like their dreams are like collecting dust because they're putting so much attention, which we're going to talk about soon, into others, energy into others, being distracted by the outside noise. And then year by year, things are happening around them and they're not fulfilling their goals. So that's what I do. In the
Yeah.
brief, I help women to achieve goals, women who are prioritizing others.
Great. So let me ask you, do you focus more on the career side of things or more on like the personal side of like family, and things like that?
Well, it depends. It depends. Like, everyone has, not everyone, people who come to me, the women that come to me have different challenges in different areas. It could be personal, it could be business. And the deeper root is always confidence. It's like, why are you prioritizing? It could be your work, you're prioritizing, your relationship, anything in your personal life, family, things that are hindering you from really focusing on yourself. So it could be personal and business. It really doesn't matter. It's just in the context of, I've lost myself in this role of mother. I've lost myself in this role of CEO. I've lost myself in this role of career. We often lose ourselves. So for me, it's working with you and saying, okay, let's get you more aligned with what are the goals? Like, where is the noise coming from? And then we work from within. Everything that I do, that's why it's called the art of self-prioritization. It's not about teaching selfishness. It's about really working for yourself within, like intimacy. Into me, I see. I'm always talking about that in my workshop. And then it's strengthening your core, who you are, your values, your alignment, what your goal and purpose is. And then from there, we can, change other things outside of yourself.
Yeah, I wrote so many things down and we're going to dive into, all of them. And if we don't have time today, I will invite you back for a part two here, maybe in the new year.
We can talk for days.
Days. I mean, to
Days.
like this topic is so important because,
Right?
and I know like obviously we had our conversation,
Mhm.
but it really is the root of all of our problems, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
the and I talk about this with my clients a lot too, is the lack of self-confidence and
Yeah.
the lack of self-worth, right?
Yeah.
Which is what leads you to do things that other people want you to do instead of things that you want to do.
People
And it
pleasing.
and it leads you, obviously, from my end, from a financial freedom coach perspective,
Mm-hmm.
to spend money that is not value add to your life, right?
Oh, say that again.
Because
Love that.
somebody else wants you to do something, or somebody else wants you to buy something, for example, or
Mm-hmm. Mm.
somebody else expects you to look a certain way, right?
Yeah.
Name brand bags, name brand shoes, luxury car, right?
Yeah.
You're literally spending money and then
Mm.
putting yourself in debt.
I was such a victim. I'm such a victim. I mean, you can imagine working in fashion. And I started working in
Oh,
fashion
yeah.
when I was 19. I discovered like I would like after high school, on Fridays, I remember my friend and we would like sneak to Soho and we would like look into all the retail shops and like buy all these things. I was so motivated to have my first job only because I wanted to buy a certain bag. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And
Yep.
there's nothing wrong with it. I was like
Yeah.
17. It's okay. But like that followed me through in my 20s, where, like you said, I was wasting so much money on stupidity.
Yep.
And now at 45, I'm like, girl, but live and learn. It's never too late. And that's why I love talking to women like you.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk a little bit about confidence, right? That
Mm.
I think is the first thing that you brought up. And I also think confidence really is the root of either our success
Yeah.
or our failure. And failure as defined by not achieving your own goals, not
Yeah.
anybody else's expectations, right?
Mhm.
This confidence, and there's confidence, living in power, right? Into me I
Mhm.
see, like, those are great. I was like, oh, I'm gonna write this down. So, based on your experiences and, obviously your coaching, what are some things that really can help us boost our confidence, right? Obviously we come from a lot of maybe trauma, right? There are
Mhm.
studies that have shown that pretty much everybody has childhood trauma,
Yeah,
uh,
totally.
and there's obviously expectations that people have on you, starting from when you're little, right? From
Yes.
teachers, from parents,
And especially
from
us as women, we talked about that when we
yes,
spoke.
yes, exactly. Now, obviously, having lived through all that, it's like ingrained in us. We're brainwashed by those expectations on how we should act, how we should behave, right? How we
Mhm.
should look. I don't know if I told you this during our conversation, but I was always like a sports person, right? Even when I
Mhm.
was little, like I was better at sports than I was at school, like
Mhm.
academics, I mean. And
Mhm.
my teachers would always be like, "Oh, that's not ladylike." Right? And like I went to elementary school in Asia. So like in
Oh, really?
Taiwan, which it was
Which
like,
Taiwan? Okay.
yeah, like it was very like girls act a certain way, right? We had to wear skirts and dresses,
Oh,
right? I went to a private school, so it was like a uniform, right? And everything. And you were expected to play the piano, you were expected to be in choir,
oh.
right? And there's like all these expectations
Mhm.
that really like I carried with me, like, oh yeah, of course, I'm just gonna do what my teachers tell me because they know what's best for me, right?
Yeah.
And then when you get into the work world, the corporate world, right, you're like, yes, I'm just gonna do it. It essentially turns out to be, I will do whatever someone in a position of authority tell me to do, whether I
Yeah.
like it or not, because that is how I am successful, right? And it really comes from, I think, a lack of confidence in your own decision making, or right, the lack of confidence to make decisions for yourself. Not even in your own decision making, as in like, oh, like if I'm a project manager, I can make decisions for the project. But there's a lot of lack of confidence for like decisions for yourself, for your own career, for your life, right? For the things that you should buy, the people that you hang out with, right? And things like that. So, wondering from your seat, like, what are some ways that we can get over that? How do we overcome that lack of confidence?
I think like you said, like, I mean, I'll talk about my perspective and also my perspective as a coach.
Yeah.
One thing that I always like as a coach, my perspective is always like just kind of like first having grace for all of us who have, you know, people pleasing tendencies,
Yes.
because like you said, it's just comes from expectations. It's like we can't control the environment we came from and how they raised us, and everyone, men have their thing and women, we have our things. And I think what we talked about previously, and that's what kind of ignited this conversation between the two of us, is like, for me, I was born in Zambia. So that's a culture that's very, male driven. And
Mhm.
so you're taught, like similarly to you in Taiwan, to be feminine. And this is what girls do. And, boys, like you remember, even in my family, my brother was allowed to do, I mean, he could get away with murder,
Yeah.
and us as girls, it's like we had to be home at a certain time. We
Right.
had to, clean the house. We had to take care of him and cook and be responsible. And so in that, you just kind of grow up with, because you as a child, you don't know what's like right or wrong. You're in that environment and you pick up those tendencies in that environment.
Yeah.
So, and that was for me personally. But as a coach, I always say that these identities that are giving to us are not like, they're not stuck with us for the rest of our lives. It's like people who say, it's like, oh, I'm stubborn, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, you are stubborn. You were raised in an environment that made you stubborn, but that doesn't mean you can't change.
Mhm.
And if you I always say, like, if you really spend more time, like, into me, I see, like, that intimacy. I learned that from Lisa Nichols, one of the books that I read from her. I think it was like 9 Ways of Achieving Anything You Want or something like that. And that's one of the
Okay.
biggest takeaways that I read from that book. And that's where it came from. So I want to credit that. And it was like the more you spend time with yourself and really getting to know yourself. And also, another thing that I always say, being with people who are not like you, unlike minded, I think it really opens up your perspective to, hey, let me talk to you. And like, Jacqueline, like, how were you raised in Taiwan? Oh, you were taught that way? Okay. And you might have a different perspective. And I might listen to you and go, well, hold on a second. That can help me change my perspective of how I was raised. Maybe I was thinking it's okay, to be girly and wear the skirt,
Yeah.
whatever, whatever it was. And after having talking to you, and you're like, well, actually, I wore pants and I was athletic and I could go out and I could do all these things. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like, hold on a second. Let me just think about that. And then you kind of just start to really go within yourself and you say to yourself as an adult, what do I appreciate about this that was taught to me? And like where I am today, am I aligned with it? Am I aligned with this identity that was given to me? And
Mhm.
if I'm not, it's okay to be like, I'm not going to take it. Ciao. I'm going to create my own identity. I'm going to try to do something else for myself. And I think that's what the confidence comes from. It just comes from like you questioning, like not being so likable and taking everything to face value. It's
Mhm.
like really question everything. I have two girls and I'm always telling them, I'm like, I don't care if it's your teacher. Question, in a respectful way, but question everything. Like you have to question. It gets me into a lot of trouble when I'm trying to discipline them. They're like, but mommy, nah, nah, nah. And I'm like, I love that they're like, I'm giving them the autonomy to think for themselves and like to
Yeah.
think, okay, they are still young, but as they get older, to say, I was raised like this. Did I mean, in all our backgrounds, even if you do have trauma, but there's still positive things in that. Like going back to my background with being disciplined and taking care of my brother and clean room and all these things ultimately helped me, because when it was me showing up and being disciplined with my goals, even being disciplined as a coach with my business, it's helped me. Like me having a certain kind of environment that I love. I love a clean atmosphere. I love a beautiful space. That's because that was taught to me from my mother. So I take that, but Hamacha, the adult, is like, some things that she taught me, no, I'm not going to do that. Or some things that were taught in my culture, Zambian culture, because also I lived in London, I lived in New York, I live in Milan now. So I get so many different perspectives. And one thing that I love about being a foreigner anywhere, it's like I have the pleasure of reinventing myself. It's like complete freedom. In Milan here, it's not like I have family here. I take care of, I'm co-parenting my two kids. And I get to decide who Hamacha is, when she wakes up, what her purpose is, outside of cultural, family, that all that stuff. So I think, when you expose yourself to other and you really spend time getting to know who you are and question and be curious, it really helps us to be confident in who we are and who we choose to be today.
Yeah. So the community is very important. I love the fact that you say that, because whatever transformation, whatever change that we're trying to make happen so that our
Mhm.
lives are how we want it to be and not how
Mhm.
other people want it to
Yeah.
be. Like
Yeah.
it cannot be done in a vacuum, right?
No.
Just like you said, like if you're trying to change, like if something in your life isn't serving you
Mhm.
anymore, maybe it served you before, but it's not serving you now based on your new goals and who you're trying to be, right? And things like that. It's very hard for you to kind of figure out what to do and like what you need to do, I think, to get to that new phase of you like
Yeah.
reinventing yourself,
Mhm.
right? Without other people's input, because
Mhm.
you are only your lived experiences,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And if you're trying to break out of your lived experiences, which is what a transformation is, right? It will be much faster, and it will prevent you from making the mistakes that maybe some other people have already made, right? Who has made this transformation already.
Mhm.
If you open yourself up, right? Be vulnerable and talk to others about what you are trying to do.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people have gone through a transformation. It's not going to be the exact transformation that you and I are, like your transformation and my transformation are very different, right?
Mhm.
But from your story, I will be able to learn things, even though the transformations are very different,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I will be able to learn something for sure,
Yeah.
right? Based on the lessons that you have learned, based on where you are, based on what you've done, and things like that. So I do think having this community is so important
It's
instead of
so
trying
important.
to, yeah, instead of trying to like run through a wall on your own, right? Like you don't need to do that. Like there are so many women that are
Mhm.
out there who can help you. Either they're in the same stage that you are and you guys can just be support for each other and cheer each other on and share your current lessons learned, or people who have already gone through the transformation and can tell you, I made these mistakes. Please don't make these mistakes.
Yeah.
Right? And
No, I
things
mean,
like that.
like, as you know, it's like always easier said than done. It's like, it's everyone is gonna have their mistakes, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, and yeah, we all make mistakes and you grow from mistakes. Mistakes are necessary, but like what you said about community is it's so important.
Yeah.
And especially as women, and because I am like number one cheerleader. I love cheering for women. I love being a woman. Like TGIF. Thank God I'm
Yes.
female. And I think like, yeah, I love it. It's like oh my gosh, being a man, boring. I love being a woman. And I love being surrounded. And I think also coming back to my upbringing, I was raised with my mom, who was a single mom, who was an amazing, she really took incredible care of us, as a single woman. I don't think there's any single woman I know who was able to give her kids the lifestyle my mom gave us. But one thing that I took away from her was just how important it is to have a community. We were never like Home Alone or any of those stories. We always had huge, communities of Zambian Africans around us, and the strong women, the matriarchies, in sitting around and chatting and being loud. And it's like I took so much from those experiences. And then I went to a boarding school of all girls. And I remember being scared, like, oh my gosh, there are nuns there. What's happening? And it was the best experiences of my lives, because it was like a bunch of young kids, kind of like very successful parents who were off doing what they had to do with their careers. And it's like they stick you in this school, and then you learn to take care of yourself. And in learning to take care of yourself, we all learn to take care of each other.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's always stayed with me, and that stayed with me in my friendships, that stayed with me in my previous business in New York, where I owned a store called Theory of Gaia, and I built a fashion store. But actually, when I look at it now, I built a community, and it was a community of women that, yes, they love to shop, but it was a deeper seated thing of us coming together, empowering each other. And while we're dressing, this is how I kind of pivoted into coaching. We would be like, oh, so what are you doing? What are your goals? And and I would say like, oh, this is what I'm doing. And people would come in and think, Haamacha, like, how are you able to do this? You're like doing so much. This is wonderful. I wish I could do this. And I'll just be like, why can't you?
Right. You can.
Right? Why can't you? And by having that community, that support, I think, like you said, you're able to be vulnerable, open up, because also I had some incredible, the most incredible conversations when I had that business, because it was such an intimate space, and I allowed people, I think naturally I'm a very open person, and people just kind of talk to me about their personal things.
Yeah.
And they would open up and they would tell me things that sometimes I was really shocked to hear, I'm being abused, or these kind of things, positive and negative things. And so it left me in a place of, I want to have a space where women can come together in confidentiality and being in a safe space, and we can all chat. And so that kind of naturally went organically into me doing coaching, because when we women come together, honestly, like with the attitude of like, let's get shit done, it is incredible what we can achieve. So I'm full on girl power.
Yeah, that's
Full on.
awesome. And again, I don't know if I mentioned this in our earlier conversation, but I co-run this other company. I co-founded another company, and it's called My Sister's Shoulders. Um,
Okay.
and it's a space for minority women, so Black and Brown women,
Yes.
to come together and just talk about things. Every month we have a topic that we talk about, and
Yeah.
we have what we call design her sister circles,
Okay.
where obviously like it's free to women of color. You don't have to be a member to join, but we
Yeah.
invite guest speakers to come on and talk about whatever topic that it is that we are talking about that month. But sometimes it can be about career, right? And other times it's about finding your North Star. Like,
Mhm.
what do you want to be in your life? What do you want to
Mhm.
be in your life,
Exactly.
right? Not other people. And then like this month, not this month because we're in October. Next month, in November, like we're gonna talk about how to not stress out during the holidays with your family, right? Because
Oh, that's
it's
another one we could talk about
yes,
forever.
yes. I mean, it's
Boundaries,
just like
boundaries.
boundaries. Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
yes.
I mean, I love to have you as a guest speaker, on that,
Yeah.
in that community, right? Because again, it's specifically built for high achieving, Black and Brown women.
Yeah, I love
So,
that. And
yeah,
it comes down to like the framework that, I have, like it's like the art of self-prioritization. Like, what
yep,
does that mean? It's like when you're quiet, like, what I was saying, when you go into me, I see into yourself and really getting to know yourself and being, number one, I always say, even in the workshop, living in power, the first framework that we go through, like the first, I would say, I don't like to use that word module,
yeah,
but in the framework, like the first, I guess, part would
uh-huh,
be about just taking responsibility. Like
yeah,
that's number one thing. Like, and going back to your question about confidence, how does anyone become more confident? Number one, like take responsibility for whatever it was. And it's
yeah,
hard because, things happen to us, life happens to us, we're surrounded by, challenging people sometimes. But
yep,
I think if you take that on with, I am going to prioritize myself and I'm going to really take responsibility for how I show up in this situation,
yep,
that really gives you so much power to have the confidence to step into rooms where you maybe someone else might feel intimidated by, or step into situations where someone is scared to do it. Because you're just saying to yourself, I'm taking responsibility for this goal that I want, this life that I want for myself. And when you do that, it's like you're owning it. You're not giving your power away by being victimized. Oh my gosh,
yeah,
this happened to me. Yes, I want to be compassionate and say there are some things in life that are just horrible that happen to us sometimes, but also we can also turn those things around. Like
yeah,
what I do for myself, like I've had some traumas, but I'm not carrying that trauma. I refuse to, because I'm not going to be a victim of my trauma. I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to be like, all right, how do I prioritize myself? This happened, whatever, this blah, 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 but I'm taking responsibility for myself. How am I going to turn this victimization, and I'm going to empower myself into saying, I'm not going to allow this situation to dictate who I am, to dictate who my identity of how people see me. I'm going to show up as the Haamacha that I want to be in the future. I'm not going to show up as her like tomorrow. I'm showing up as her now. If that means I need to exercise, if that means I need to take a course, if that means I need to, connect with more women like you to change my perspective or to learn something different. When we take responsibility for ourselves, it really helps us to shift the victimization and really just go for what we need.
yes. That's like so important, right? So, like from my point of view as a financial freedom coach,
Mhm.
it's I al- I always ask my clients, right, on a scale of 1 to 5,
Mhm.
how where are you on the scale, right? Like, answer this question: I have control over my finances, right? If you
Mhm.
think it's a 1, that you don't actually have control over your finances, then it's not a numbers issue, it's a mindset issue, right?
What define for me, like when you mean like I have control over what does
Yep.
that mean exactly?
Yeah. Yeah, great question, because a lot of clients do ask me that too. When I ask them this question, they're like,
I'm
"What is
gonna
that?"
be coached
Right?
by you right now. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So, like, it means that you can make a difference in your financial life. Your
Yes.
finances are not governed by the government or whatever other external entity that other people think is controlling their finances and their financial situation, right?
Hmm.
You have the power to make it better. You have
Hmm.
the power to change it. You have the
Hmm.
power to make more income. You have the
Hmm.
power to spend less expenses, right? To have less expenses, right?
Yes.
So that is like, do you feel like you have control over your finances? And if your
And
answer is no, right?
mhm.
Then it's like, it doesn't help you if I look at the numbers. It doesn't help you if I'm just like, oh, here's your income, here's your expenses, here's what you should do, here's what you should do, right? Because if your mindset is, I don't have control over that, somebody else, in the ethernet, wherever, right,
Mhm.
is controlling my finances, then you're not going to make the actions. You're not going to take the actions that are necessary to improve your finances, right?
Yeah.
So just like what you said, is step number one is you have to claim responsibility
Yes.
for
Yeah.
yourself. And this is true, I think, in every aspect of life. If you think your career is not going the way that you want it, it's
Take
easier,
responsibility.
right? Yes, it's easier for you to say, my manager, this, my company,
Yeah.
this. They don't
Oh my gosh.
recognize my value, right? But
Yes.
it's like, okay, so if you feel like you don't have control over your career, then you're not going to take the steps necessary to get yourself promoted,
I
right?
love that. Yes,
So,
exactly.
so it's literally like you have to, for number one, recognize that you own it. You
Mhm.
have control over it and you can change it. If you
Yes.
don't have that mindset, then what, like, if you think you can't change it, why would you take the extra step to try and change it? Right?
But I
If
think
you're like,
like
well, doesn't matter what I do, right? It doesn't matter what I do and nothing's going to change, then you're not going to take the action.
yeah, but I think the fact that if they're coming to you for that kind of help, or they're coming to me for the help to, to give them the confidence to step into whatever
Yes.
goals they want to achieve, I think that already is like the first sign of like
Yes.
something is like dee, 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 dee. I call her Debbie.
Yes. I've been seeing it on your posts, on your posts.
I don't know where Debbie
It's,
came
yeah.
from, but anyway,
Yep.
yeah, that's something else that I discuss in my workshop, Living in Power, about how, like the voices we tell ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
we have outside voices, the
Yes.
external influences, all of that, expectations, culture, family, that's already a lot. But I think more often when I work with women, it's like I'm working on, at the end of the day, I'm working on the mindset. And mindset is, what are you telling yourself?
Yes.
And the stories we tell herself, like you just said, you could be complaining about something, like, and that's like victimizing. What is the power in that? So when you like take it back to yourself, like, let me prioritize myself here, the art of self prioritization. I'm
Yep.
going to take responsibility, and how am I going to show up next time? You know what I mean? Like, how am I going to show up in the meeting, or how am I going to show up in my finances? And for me personally, I love that you touched on that, finances, because for me, it's like my biggest goal right now in my life is finances.
Yeah.
Like you said, because when I was younger, it's like I was just like blowing so much. I mean, I blew a lot of money. I swear. Sometimes I'm like,
Yes.
I was just like,
Yeah.
because you're thinking the environment, like you said, it's like, let's just go have fun, and let's just buy these gowns, and let's just travel, and let's just go to whatever, and now I am taking responsibility by saying to myself,
Yes.
what skills do I have? What can I do with my past, all of that history? And how can I leverage that into me being financially free,
Yeah.
because I also have a personal goal of financial freedom. Do I have
Yeah.
financial freedom now? No. Is that where I want to be? Absolutely. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone should want that for themselves, but I'm just going to speak for myself personally. That is my number one goal. And I think this is why you and I connected on
Yeah.
LinkedIn. Because I asked you, I mean, you're not gonna answer this now, but remember like the last talk, I'm like, yeah, so you're like, oh, this is how much I made, and and how did I make it? And I was like, so how much are you worth? Just give me the number.
Yeah.
And you told me, and I thought that was so cool. And you didn't even hesitate. And I was like, yeah, she's cool. I can learn from her,
Yeah. But
because
it's
you're
like,
ahead of me. You're
yes.
way ahead of me with this number.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think something that you brought up, right? And this is also with confidence. I think a lot
Yeah.
of women, like successful women, right?
Hmm.
A lot of women who have a lot of money and other things, right? Like they maybe have a high title and things like that. But society teaches us that we should be humble, that
Yes.
we should, right? So when people ask, they shrink themselves,
Yes.
right? And that is also the again the confidence piece, right? Like if you're confident and you're comfortable in your own skin, you should not have to hide anything that you have, right? You
Mhm.
should not have to hide your net worth. Like, why are you hiding? Are you afraid of offending people because you have a high net worth? Or like, are you downplaying your title because you're afraid that other people are going to feel uncomfortable or judge you in a certain way because of your title, right? It's like, and that's part of the confidence thing, right? Is like,
Yeah.
are you comfortable in your own skin? Are you comfortable with what you are doing? And if you're not comfortable, then it's time for a change.
Or I would love to add to that, it's sometimes it's like you are, I guess maybe the really financially free within your friends, maybe like
Yeah.
for example, like the people you
Yes.
grew up with. And that's something there, like that's also a mindset shift where you have to be like, okay, so I guess you've outgrown this group. Let's find a new group for you.
Yes.
You can be like,
Yes.
yes, guess what? This is what I made. And they're like, bravo, girl. And then they can give you a bigger number. And you're like,
Right.
oh, I can aspire for that if that's what you want, you know?
Yes.
So I think
Yes.
sometimes we as I'm going to talk about women,
Yeah.
we often downplay ourselves because we're still trying to remain in that group,
Yes.
you
Yep.
know? And it's so, and that one thing I literally just posted on this today, that it's okay to outgrow that group. Do you know how many friends I've lost in this last 5 years?
Yes.
And
100%, right?
so
Not
many.
everyone who was with you can come with you on your next
Yes,
journey.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And like another thing that I always say is like I call them rocket booster friends, like rocket booster.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and where did I learn that from? I love to like actually give credit to these people
Of
that I
course.
learned from.
Yep.
And I'm trying to think, I think Rocket Booster was Lisa Nichols. Oh, Lisa Nichols. Today's a Lisa Nichols
Yeah.
day. And that's something else that I learned from her, from reading her material, and also just a woman that I really respect, is like, and I always also give this kind of analogy like to my clients. As we're growing, there's like a spaceship and it's going up, 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 up. When it eventually leaves, the atmosphere,
Yeah.
gravity pulls it down, right? Tries to pull it down, and it needs all that horsepower to go up. And if you are still stuck in that room where there's no horsepower, there's
Yeah.
no depth of wanting something more for themselves, there is no momentum, there's no excitement, there's no cheering each other on, no learning, you get stuck in like
Yeah.
Earth, that
Yeah.
environment, right? But if you get these like rocket booster friends who are like, hey, Jacqueline, this is what you need to do. I learned this. I read this book.
Yeah.
My numbers are like this. If our goal is we want to accomplish that, and and I say, for example, I'm sorry, I can't meet you guys out for dinner because my friends know I have a goal that I have to achieve and I'm not going to be able to accompany you to Nobu, but you know what I mean? Like
Love Nobu.
like your friends should be like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
And my friends are so wonderful because I'm like, I'm done with that. I'm not going to like, I used to like,
Yep.
I love Nobu.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not doing that anymore because my financial goals are my
Yes.
priority. And they know that. And I'm like, well, girls, instead of us going to whatever fancy place I'd love to go to, why don't you guys just come hang at my house? You
Yeah.
know? And
Yep.
those are rocket booster friends because they know what your goals are and you know what their goals are, and you're all helping each other along. But the ones that don't talk about the numbers, or they don't talk about what their goals are, and they stay quiet when your friends are like, hey, let's go to Nobu. Like, if you're already in that environment and you already can't tell your friends that you
Mhm.
can't go to whatever Nobu for dinner because of your goals, you're stuck on Earth. You're not going to get
Right.
up there to
Right.
Mars,
Yeah.
So get those rocket booster friends.
Yeah, and I saw another like analogy that's like a rocket analogy. And I thought it was great too because when a rocket launches, right,
Mhm.
it's got all these things and all these like I don't know, like packages, I guess,
Yeah,
attached,
yeah,
right? To help it lift off
yeah.
and fight gravity, essentially.
Yep, yep.
But if you watch a rocket launch, not everything makes it into space, right? They're scheduled to detach at
Mm,
certain points of the launch because
mm,
it's too heavy. Once it gets to a certain, right? Once it gets to a certain altitude, it's like dropping this, it's dropping that, right? And only like the main space rocket, right, makes
yes.
it into space and then to its final destination.
I love
And
that one
even
too.
like
I'll use.
yeah. And so, and even like when you're trying to land, like, for example, like on the moon, right? Like, not the full rocket gets to the moon. There's a
Ex-
capsule that they release, right?
Yes,
A little tiny capsule that they release to get
yes.
to the final destination. Um,
Hmm.
because again, like you don't need all of those things. It's actually too heavy for you in order
Hmm.
to make it to your next destination. So you have to shed it, whether it's friends, whether it's your luxury car, right? Whether it's your golf club membership, like whatever it is that you need to
Yeah,
shed, right?
exactly.
You have to shed some stuff from the past because what got you here is not going to get you there. If you're trying to change, if you're trying to transform, you have to do things differently to get a different result, right? Like I think it's the definition of insanity for you to keep doing the same thing and expect a different result, right?
Exactly.
So like if you have to do things differently in order to make the changes that you want in your life. Um,
Absolutely.
I thought that was, I was like, oh, another rocket analogy. That's great
We
because
can
I've
keep
seen that.
going with this. And then also,
Yes,
actually, I got excited when you were talking. It's like, these things come up. And also, like, even just like, not even like the external stuff. Like for me,
yes,
because I'm always working on the person, it's like always coming
yes,
back to yourself. It's
yes,
like, the goodie is what do you need to drop within yourself? What habits, what
yes.
mindsets, what identities, what all of these things that Debbie is telling you, what do you need to drop for yourself to get there? Because at the end of the day, a lot of the self-sabotaging is a huge
Mhm,
thing.
mhm.
There are people out there that say they want this and then they say they want that. But we're very creative as humans. We can self-sabotage ourselves in such amazing ways. I
Yes.
love it when I hear, like, that's probably like one of my favorite things that I love hearing from my clients. And I'm always like, I'll listen and you're doing it again. It's like, what are you doing?
Yes.
I'm like, what did you just say? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So it's like, what is your mind telling you, Debbie, the negative, you know, negative person within you, or who's actually there, let's say, to protect you? But you also, by knowing yourself and also by listening to yourself and your values and where you want to go, also like question what Debbie's telling you, because
Yes.
sometimes we do things automatically because it's been like our MO for
Mhm,
what, 45 years
mhm,
of my life. And it
mhm.
could be so hard, as we're trying to get to that North Star, those goals, that Mars, to let go of certain aspects of our relationship because sometimes we're afraid of, if I let go, who's going to be around me still?
Yes.
You know?
It's that's another thing, right? Is fear-based decisions
Yeah.
never serve you. Never
No.
serve you, right? You should not be making decisions based off of fear. But I want to
Yeah.
address Debbie
Debbie.
a little bit because
Hi,
and
Debbie.
I've actually talked about this. So Olivia, who's my business partner for My Sister Shoulders, her
Uh-huh.
and I have talked about this a lot on our Design Her Sister Circle sessions.
Mhm.
And our brains trick us.
Woo. Let
Our
me tell you.
brains trick us into different things.
Oh,
And what I've told the ladies on those sessions is take it like feedback, right? Anybody can give you feedback,
yeah.
literally, right? And people will give you their own
Yeah.
opinions, right?
Unsolicited or not.
Unsolicited, correct.
Yeah.
And that is what it is. It's just unsolicited opinions,
Yeah.
right? Even though it's coming from your brain. But
Yes.
like imagine what those voices are made of. It's
Mm,
not you. It's
no.
your mother, it's your father, it's your teachers, it's your coworkers, right? It's your boss, it's
Yes.
your neighbor down the street, it's the old man at the park, right? It's literally everyone who you have met telling you different things that's,
Mm,
come together to accumulate the voice of Debbie in your situation, right?
yeah.
So just it's like you can again listen to it, thank them for the feedback, right? Because obviously they're taking their time to give you their feedback, but that
Mhm.
doesn't mean you have to take the feedback. It doesn't mean
Exactly.
you have to act on the feedback, right?
Yeah.
You can just listen to it and file it away somewhere, or just
Exactly.
forget about it if it doesn't serve you, right?
Yeah.
So if you treat the voice in your head like anybody else's unsolicited opinion, because that's what it is, right?
Mhm.
You can listen to it, you can process it, and you're like, oh, okay, maybe there's something there. But if
Mhm.
you're like, no, this is just old information that's not
Yeah.
going to serve me in my new journey,
In
moving
my
to
new
whatever,
journey.
yeah,
Exactly.
whatever goal I'm trying to reach now, then you just don't listen to it. Just don't take the feedback, right?
Exactly.
That's it. Like it's literally just another unsolicited opinion.
And yeah, and it's like, yeah, and it's by staying again still, right? It's like because the issue now is, I mean, now more than ever, I mean, with social media, it's like
Yeah.
we are so bombarded with so many voices outside of ourselves that when we even have Debbie, it's like it all just gets in there, and we can't, if we can't stop for a minute. I think this is why it's so important to sit with yourself
Mhm.
and not be lonely, but moments of like silence for yourself
Yes.
where you get to understand when Debbie comes out. I think for me, it's always important. Like we all get triggered about when is Debbie coming out. She just doesn't come out whenever. She comes out when, yeah, maybe perhaps you're doing maybe for you it's fear, or maybe for you it's whatever it is, But I know when my Debbie comes out and I know how to shut her down because
Mhm.
I've learned the tools to be like, okay, I know right now that I'm going through perhaps um challenging period. And Debbie comes to me and she starts to tell me all these things. And actually this morning she showed up. She showed up this morning because number one, I didn't sleep very well. So
Ah,
when I don't sleep very well, Debbie comes out like,
yes.
and she's just like there, and I was like, my kids left. And I told myself, I'm just gonna stay in bed like just 2 hours because I slept so badly.
Mhm.
And I just thought I want to sleep more, but I had things to do. I knew I was talking to you. It's like I had things to do. And I'm always advocating for rest. It's good to take care of yourself to rest, but it wasn't that. It was Debbie came out and Debbie was like, oh no, just rest. Oh no, sleep 2 hours. Then it could be 3 hours, then it could be 4 hours. And you don't have to do that. Like it's okay. You can do that tomorrow. You can do that post tomorrow, or you can set up that meeting another day. Or you don't have to, do that
Yeah.
presentation. And then I literally just said to myself, okay. And then I just stayed still and I heard all these things she was telling me. And then I remembered my why. This is something that I always, it always brings me back to
Yeah.
what is my purpose? What is my goal? Like where I'm trying to get to Mars here. And what do I have to do? I know what I have to do clearly because every day before I log out or whatever it is, I have a whole list of things that I need to do. And so when I wake up in the morning, it's like I get up and I just go down the list of what I have to get done. But Debbie was just like, it's okay. You don't have to do
Yeah.
that. And I just thought to myself, no, I do have to do it because I'm taking responsibility. And that's part of me getting to my North Star, Mars, my goals, is I have to be disciplined. That means,
Yep.
Haamacha, get yourself out of bed. And tonight, like I'm gonna go to bed really early tonight so I
Yep.
can sleep well for tomorrow. And I'm gonna do that. And I got up, and while I was tidying up because I'm always tidying up in the morning first, I literally put on this motivational like video. No, actually it's on YouTube, this motivational thing that I listen to every single day. And it just pumps me into like, let's go, Hamacha, boost yourself up,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it boosted me out of there. So I think if you know already the tools for yourself to shut her down, it really helps. But so many of us are walking in life listening to Debbie, listening to social, listening to
Yep.
mommy and daddy and community and whoever, that we can't even sometimes have a distinction with who's talking because there's so much noise, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And it's actually brain science. Like I
Mhm.
read this brain science article around silence. Like our
Mm,
world is so full of noise right now, right?
yeah.
It's the TV, it's the social media, it's everything. But our
Yeah.
brains cannot function with all that noise. It
Yeah.
literally cannot think clearly with all of that noise.
Mhm.
So the best is really like what you did, right? It's like I'm gonna sit here with
Mhm.
myself in myself,
Yeah.
and whatever voice is coming, I'm going to consider it. I listen to it, and
Mhm.
then with the silence, I'm going to decide what is best for me, what I need to do, right? That best serves me. Right?
Mhm.
Taking responsibility for yourself, knowing that, and we're going to wrap with this, right? Knowing that you have control
You have control.
of your future,
Yes, we do.
regardless of what it is, your career, your finances,
We do.
prioritizing yourself, right? You are in control of your life.
You are.
Okay? You can take control of it. You can make the changes that you need. You can transform yourself,
We
right?
absolutely can.
Yeah. Now, Hamacha, if obviously some of our audiences listen to this and they're like, I really want to reach out to Hamacha and have a
Mhm.
chat, where do they go to find you?
Haamacha.com.
Awesome.
Haamacha. I made it very simple. The name is
Nice.
not, it's quite unique, which I love. But yeah, Haamacha.com. You can go there and you can start with your free guide. You can go into Living in Power workshop, and I'm also available for one-on-ones for women who truly are putting other people like ahead of themselves. And I know what that feels like because I did it, like we can have a whole conversation
Yeah.
about the other factors that we did in our first conversation. But I think I love what you just said to kind of round it up to, I know coaching transformation is like an incredible thing and we can all do it. But if you have that community, it's great. But then if you also have someone who can help you like figure out the rules of shutting Debbie down and taking responsibility, because I had my coaching myself, when
Yeah.
I went through my journey of personal growth, I had coaching.
Of course.
And without
Yes.
that
So did I.
coaching,
Yeah.
yeah, you see, then that's
Like not
why,
like official, like I didn't pay for a coach, but I had
ah,
several mentors who
oh no,
were
I
coaching
paid.
me.
I
Yeah, who
paid.
were coaching me on what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I paid and I know the value that it brought for
Yes.
me. And so for a woman who's out there who just has this goal and you may not have this rocket boosting friends around you, and you might be in an environment where in your mind, not Debbie, your true self,
Yeah.
you have a different vision for yourself, for your life that's not there, but it's in your head, and if you really want to do it, it's completely possible. And how
Mhm.
to get there with the art of self-prioritization with me, it's like we are going to start with the core of you to strengthen you, because in life, like challenges will come up. Debbie will not go anywhere. So, how do we equip ourselves with the tools and the people and the support to make sure that we can get you up on that, star, that Mars, who you need to drop, your habits for yourself. I don't focus on the external.
Yeah.
I always focus on you, your mindset,
Love
because
it.
when you're strengthened, oh, darling,
Yeah.
so much that we can do.
Yeah. And I mean, the first step to prioritizing yourself is to invest in yourself.
It is.
Right? That's the whole thing.
It
Well,
is.
thank you so much, Haamacha, for your time
Thank
today. And
you.
to our audience, if you found this helpful, please share it with a friend. Okay, there are so many people out there that could use this material, that could help, that we could help in their transformation, right? In the changes that they're trying to make in their life. And if you did like this conversation, please subscribe or follow us. And don't forget to give us a like or a thumbs up. And then again, Haamacha, thank you so much for your time. I will definitely be in contact with you maybe again for a part 2, or for you to come on as a guest speaker for our Sister Circles conversations.
My
And
pleasure.
yeah, thank you so much.
Thank
And to our
you.
audience, thank you so much for being with us. And we will see you next time. Bye bye.
Take care. Bye.